Hey, I'm Travis.
And I'm Adele.
And we are The Noble Marriage. We hope that through our channel, you will be inspired and motivated so that your marriage will be all that God created it to be. Hey, and welcome back. Today we're talking about personal responsibility and what it looks like in your relationships and in your marriage, and how do you have personal responsibility. For me, I did not ever have personal responsibility for myself. It was 40 something years of just blame and shifting my blame onto other people because I was not being personally responsible for my own actions and the way I show up in my life.
I think sometimes it's really easy in a relationship to take our heart and give our heart to our spouse because they're the ones that are supposed to fix how I feel and take away the emotions that I don't want to feel. And what that's doing is it's opening you up for a codependent relationship.
I used to feel like when you would say things to me, I would get so upset by whatever it is you said, and I would think, you shouldn't say those things to me, or you shouldn't talk to me in that way. And it's not that she was saying in a way that would be disrespectful or a way that would be hurtful, but whatever it is you were saying, I didn't agree with. And so instead of me being personally responsible for the way I hear you talking, instead was shifting the blame onto you that you make me feel a certain way. But in reality, none of that was true. In reality, what I discovered was I have a way of listening to people from the thorns from my past, the things that hurt me from my past. I have a way of listening to people, specifically you, Adele. You would say things and I would feel judged. And so I would come back at you with being upset at you for the way you talk to me about being judged.
Are you relating to this? That when your spouse says something, maybe you feel rejected, not good enough, a failure, unworthy, abandoned. Those are thorns that we're talking about here. And when we blame the other person for you made me feel that way, I'm giving him my heart, really just to trample on it more. Maybe you're the spouse that is controlling and you really struggle with needing control in your relationship and in your life. And what I found, that was me. And I found that the more I tried to control Travis and his actions and feelings and behaviors, the more it became a parent-child relationship, which makes it to the point where we're unable to have two adult people in this relationship. I am now treating him like he is not capable of being responsible for himself. I take on that responsibility. And like I said earlier, this is another sign of codependency, where I am taking over his ability to be responsible for himself.
And when I am not my best self, which there's a lot of times when I'm not whole and complete as a person, I'm not my best self. Sometimes I feel like, I'm such a failure. I'm such a loser. You want me to be different in some way. You want to control me in some way. And I'm like, I'm not good enough to take care of my own heart. I'll just give it to you because I don't know how to care for myself. So now you're my parent and I'm your child. And now it's up to you to fix me.
You should feel this way. You shouldn't feel that way. Why are you doing this? You should not be doing that. Yeah, I don't take very good care of his heart.
Nope, and no one else will ever take good care of your heart like you will. Absolutely not. When I relinquish my heart to Adele, she doesn't know how to treat it. She doesn't know how to treat it the way that it needs to be treated because she has a certain agenda in her own life. She's already wanting to control. And so you could do that and we could still function through life. And we have for years. It just doesn't work as well because it becomes where I feel so little and so small. And I'm like, whatever you want, honey. You already got my heart.
Very apathetic.
Very apathetic. Definitely. So in Genesis, you have Genesis 1, Genesis 2. Genesis 1, all the creation is made. Genesis 2, Adam is hanging out with God, enjoying a relationship, naming the animals, doing the things he was supposed to be doing. And in Genesis 3, whenever Adam and Eve, that's the fall, and Adam and Eve go in sin, and they eat something they're not supposed to eat, immediately they felt shame and fear, and they went and hid. And this is Genesis 3, I think it's 10 through 14. And God comes looking for them because God always comes for us. We're his children. God comes looking for them. And it's like, hey, where did you guys go? What did you do? What happened? And Adam's immediately, and this is what we do, immediately deflected and gave responsibility somewhere else. The woman you gave me did it. The woman you gave me did it. And then God was, go to the woman. All right, what happened? And Eve is like, the serpent did it. We've been doing that ever since, is we shift responsibility, we shift blame, we become victims in our life, and we're like, if someone else is responsible for it, I don't have to be responsible. And this is a great turn for men. Men, lean in here. When Adam and Eve were going to eat the forbidden fruit, it says that Adam was with Eve when that happened, right there beside her. And so when Eve is being tricked, Adam is being quiet. And then Adam chose to eat after Eve. And when Adam chose to eat after Eve, that's when apathy first showed up in us men, is Adam had an opportunity as a leader of his household to say, hey, this is not what we're going to do. This is not who we are. This is not what we're committed to. Let's go this other way. Because it says in the Bible that God told Adam not to eat the fruit. And Adam must have told Eve because she repeated back to the serpent some of the same things that God had told Adam. She included some extra things like, I'm not even supposed to look at it or touch it, much less eat it. Adam immediately had apathy. And us as men, this is our opportunity to say, you know what? That's not who we're committed to being. We're actually committed to being something else, that God created us to be warriors, to be rulers in his kingdom. And so apathy is the way that takes us out.
Yeah, and I think the reason it's common for women, the wives wanting to control, is because of the apathy. That when he is not being personally responsible and being the leader of the home, I take control over that, because that's what I want. That's what I desire, is for him to be responsible. And it can't be done. I have to allow him to be personally responsible for his own heart, for his own actions, and for his own behaviors and thoughts. And I have to be responsible for me, myself, and I. And that is it. And we use an analogy of a hula hoop. You know, imagine you have a hula hoop around you and you have about this much space, you know. That is what I have control over. Nothing else.
Everything inside that hula hoop, you have 100% control over.
Everything.
If it falls outside of that hula hoop, you merely have influence, which is awesome. That's an awesome thing to have, is influence, because here's the truth. If I try to control anything outside of the hula hoop, or if you do, we will feel out of control because there is no control.
And it means you're taking responsibility for someone else.
Yes, that's anxiety.
Exactly. It's a lot of anxiety. And the only people you should be taking control over are your children, and that is for a time frame. Because there comes a time where they also need to be personally responsible. I mean, Haven is 8 now, and we're really influencing her in personal responsibility because she doesn't need that 100% control anymore. And so, wives, I just want you to really hear me and stop controlling your husband and allow God to actually work in his life, to be personally responsible, to be whole and complete, and show up as the leader of the home. Because as long as I was in control, God is not. And God could not move in his life until I got out of the way and stopped controlling everything that was going on in our life.
So we want to leave you with this. My heart equals my responsibility. I need to be personally responsible, and you need to be personally responsible for you, because that's who we're created to be. Anything other than that makes us codependent with our spouse.
Thanks for joining us today, and be sure and join us next week. Bye.
Hey.
No, stop.